What's up, guys? Today, for the most part, what we're going to be going over is a lot of basics on just being virtual, working virtually, staying organized, putting in the work, and just really like a frame of mind and work ethic when it comes to selling virtually. And David had some really good stuff. We've been talking quite a bit about this, and I talked a little bit about it last week as well. Listen, if you're gonna be virtual, you get to sit at home in your office chair, okay, and just dial for dollars. But in exchange for that, you got to make lots of dials. And I think, some people, in obviously not everybody and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, like you got to be ready and willing to put in the work if you're going to be virtual. That's really just the bottom line. And I think a lot of agents, when they start working virtually, think because they can sit at home and make money, and maybe they get lucky early on, make only a couple dials in a day, make a sale, that they think it's always like that. And I think something that is helpful for everybody and just for us to talk about is, you got to be putting in the work. You got to be putting in the hours on the phone, the dials, like dealing with a bunch of grumpy potential clients, you know what I mean? And just dealing with nonsense all the time and continuing to just, plow through that, really like it's nothing. Like you got to be a dog on the phone. You got to be willing to sit there and just dial, 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 just like you would, anywhere. Like, in fact, in the way that I would think about this, or a way to think about this is if I were to sit you down and pay you straight up, like, hey, I'm going to pay you $2 grand a week or $2,500 a week or $5 grand a week or insert whatever number gets you excited and motivated and willing to do the actual work. If I were to pay you that, put you on a contract, okay, that hey, if you sit there and you dial for 6 hours a day or 4 hours a day or 8 hours a day or whatever. Let's say it was 8 hours a day and I paid you $2,500 a week, no questions asked. Doesn't matter what sales you make. Would you sit there for 8 hours a day and dial? And I think for a lot of us, the answer, like, yeah, hey, for 3 grand a week or 5 grand a week or 10 grand a week or whatever the number is, like, yeah, I would sit there and dial 8 hours a day if that was my job. And the thing that I want you guys to get and realize is, like, you will make whatever numbers in your head, if not more, if you actually just sit there and do that. But a lot of us, when we get started virtually, we think, like I said, maybe we get lucky or what have you, but we just think like, hey, I could make 50 dials in a day and try to get lucky. Or I can sit around and do nothing the entire day and dial for an hour and call that my day's worth of work, and expect good results and complain when I don't get those results. And so we wanted to give you guys just some guidelines and some tracks to run on as far as what does it take to really make these sales virtually. How much work does it really take? And I know David's got a lot of good stuff there, to to add to what I'm saying. So
Well,
yeah.
so here's the lens, Nick, I'm looking at this at. So I'm starting to bring on some new agents now, kind of more now than maybe in months in previous and whatnot. So I'm kind of looking at this through the lens of like, okay, if I was bringing a new agent on, what do I really want them to know, like the good, the bad, the ugly on, and all of us, myself included, if you've been around for a little while, maybe just re-examine your own business with this, or at bare minimum, look at this through the lens of if you ever do want to bring an agent on, like we got to just tell the truth of what it's going to take to have success. Because there's a lot of reasons I love this business. I don't know if any of you on this call have seen. I made a 7-minute video that goes through just kind of the basics of why this might be a good opportunity for somebody. And you can message Nick or I if you need that video, if you're sharing it with anybody or whatnot. But going through there, I was trying to point out, a lot of the positives of why I like this business. And for example, the guy who you're hearing from now, if you don't understand, I don't want to butcher the number, Nick, but it was like $387,000 you made last year. And I think we need to focus a little more on that too, because a lot of it is, with this business, you can make it through helping other agents, and you can make it off of, what you do with your own book of business. Nick is an insane expert making big full-time incomes both ways. So he's the perfect person to talk about staying organized and knowing what it takes to actually have success. Like, this isn't somebody that, doesn't have the cookies to back it up. If you've ever heard Marcus at a training event, like, how big's your stack? Nick's got a big stack, and it's worth listening when he talks. And then on the flip side, so I'm looking at it from a standpoint of, okay, we're brand new getting started. Like, what does it take? Because this business is worth getting good at. Like, a lot of us fell in love with this business, but it still takes putting the work in. And so I think for the people that aren't going to have success, it's going to be because they either didn't stay organized enough or they just didn't put enough work in. Okay. Now, if you've been to one of our Marcus at a Train events, he talks about the different personality colors. And some people look at me and they're like, okay, hey, you're green. So you have what's going on. I am green when it comes to making money. Green means like analytical, organized. When I talk about all this organization stuff, and I would very much put Nick in this same category too. We're not green and everything. Like even my taxes. Like I was late on my taxes. I'm throwing together and you're trying to come up with my write offs and expense. I am not green and organized on a lot of things. Like you can ask my wife; she gets annoyed with me on all kinds of things that I should be much more organized on. But when it comes to money, I am taking that part very serious. And I would encourage any of you, regardless what your personality is like, regardless of anything else, what are you willing to do to make sure you make enough money for your family? What are you willing to do to make this where you make more money here than you have at anything you've ever done before? Whether you're still doing it part-time here or you've already transitioned to full-time. What are you willing to do to get fixed so next year through 2024 you make more money than you did last year for those who've been around for a while? Like just think about what can we do to just get a little bit better. And I really do think the organization of it is a big part. And then again, obviously willing to put in the work. So maybe let's start on the organization side, Nick, and we can kind of go back and forth on some of that.
Yeah, so here's what I was thinking we could just roll through and just on all of this. Like obviously, like you got to stay organized, but I want to talk about leads. I want to talk about calendar. I want to talk about tracking your business, and then also putting in the work. You know what I
Perfect.
mean? And so when it comes to if you're cool with it, like let's start with leads. One of the biggest mistakes that brand new agents make, and this is in person, over the phone, anything, not having enough lead flow. Okay, like sometimes we are trying to squeeze $10,000 worth of income out of $100 worth of leads, and I'm just telling you, like it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So you need to be buying enough leads to win. You need enough at bats that you can get, enough good conversations. Okay. Cause there's going to be all sorts of nonsense conversations, goofy people, crazy people, people that tell you one thing, you think you're going to put a policy in and then you don't. Like there's just going to be all sorts of things that are not sales. Okay. That come from your leads. So you just need to have enough leads that you're going to make. Do you have enough at bats that you're going to hit some? You know what I mean,
Mhm.
and get on base. And so, just as a rule of thumb, if you're on here and, this is applicable in person, over the phone, whatever, however you're selling, I would say you got to be spending at least like on the lower end, I would say at least $500 a week in leads. Okay. If you're virtual, odds are good. You probably need to spend a little bit more in leads. Okay. Than 500. What is your number? It depends on what you want to make. But if you think about this and you want to make, let's say you 5x whatever you spend in leads, that ends up being annual premium that you end up writing. Okay. Or yeah, let's just think of it in those terms. So you spend $100 in leads. That means that you're going to write about $500 in business. Does that mean you're going to make $500? No, that's $500 in annual premium. And depending on the type of policy, the commission level, all sorts of different stuff. Okay, that you're going to get paid, whatever you get paid out of there. So maybe you make 250, let's say. Well, you need to be spending 500 because if you spend 500, you write 2,500, let's say on average, and then whatever you end up making on 2,500, like you're profitable, you're like you're doing well and things are moving forward. Maybe it's not the level you want to be. Okay, well, how do we make more money? You can buy more leads, and therefore you could buy more premium. Okay, like so many people make this mistake of like, hey, hey, I had a really good month or I had a really bad month, and so I'm going to spend less on leads. And I'm just telling you guys, like that's a huge mistake. I would plan on ever since I've ever been in the business, no matter what type of lead, if it's direct mail, if it's like whatever it is. Okay, like I am spending at least $500 a week in leads, and there's lots of weeks where it's a lot more, $1,000 a week and 2,000, maybe not 2,000 a week. I don't think I've gotten that high, but there's just realize this: the most successful agents in insurance, period, not just within our group, but all the different insurance agencies out there that are buying leads and working leads, the most successful agents are usually the ones that are spending the most on leads. Okay. You could suck, but if you spend a lot in leads and you work, you're gonna like you're gonna even the playing field quite a bit.
Mhm.
And so you need to be having enough leads. Number two thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, and maybe this is having some conversations with some different agents. I feel like for some of us, we're naturally a little bit organized, and David and I are really, really similar. We're like, I'm organized when it comes to making money, but like all the other junk, like I'm the worst. Like I'm the opposite of organized, like taxes or whatever. Like I hate that stuff. Um, but anyways, when it comes to making money, okay, one thing that's really important is your calendar. So, what do you use for your calendar? I know a lot of us will use Google Calendar. I would encourage you, you ought to use Google Calendar. Okay, this is my opinion. And if you're lost and you're just using like paper or pen or whatever, um, listen, Google Calendar is extremely easy. It's free. If you have a Gmail account, if you don't have a Gmail account, I would get a Gmail account because it's free and it's super easy. And in order to schedule stuff, like here is my Google Calendar. Okay. So I just put all my stuff on here. And if I need to, I color coordinate some of this stuff every now and again. But I put all my stuff on here. That way, if it's like, hey, I get a call back from, Charleston from May 6th or, whatever day that is, June 6th, or gosh, I don't even know my months, April 16th. Okay. I can go back and look at when I talked to him. Or, if I talk with Diane again, hey, I know that's when I did that. Oh, this is when I called this lady. This is when I played tennis. I put legit like everything in there. And again, having conversations with some agents, not only are we not organized as far as like consistently buying leads, but we're also not organized with our calendar. Like our calendar is a piece of paper that what I mean is somewhere. So I would encourage you like use Google Calendar. And David, if you're using something different, let us know. That way they're not just getting my perspective, but they get yours as well. But that is hands down my opinion is like use Google Calendar. You can put it on your phone, you can put it, it'll sync to your computer, all that good stuff.
Well, yeah, so I'm the old school grandpa, but again, it's not a piece of paper; it's a solid book, and I've used the same one year after year. And you have to have something to keep you organized for sure. So stick to something to have written down, and certainly for most of you guys, I feel like an old man. I'm going to be 35 on June 3rd, and I feel like I'm 65 with some of these technology things right now. I don't know how to push my card on the tap pay. I don't know how to use Apple Pay. Like I already am feeling like a dinosaur a little bit. So if you guys want to make fun of me, that's fine. But stay organized some way, somehow. And just where you can see what's going on, be able to, because and it goes back to the leads the same way, Nick, of, okay, you certainly need to buy enough leads. But then what are you doing with the leads? Because I also hear of people where, they might buy $500 a week leads, but then they don't go call them for a month. Well, so, what was the point of buying the $500 leads if you never call them, or you call them one time? Like there's so you got to understand, like, that might sound really scary to some of you of how much you need to buy in leads, but if you stay organized, you can squeeze more juice out. And the reason a lot of people continue to buy the leads and stay consistent at it is they get the cream off the top. So you buy $500 of new leads, regardless whether they're brand new from how you got them or not. Maybe they're already a month old or something, but like the new leads you've never once on your phone number tried to call, well, you're going to get a couple of them that are just easier to talk to. And there might be like an easy sale. Nick calls it getting the cream off the top. But if you keep digging on those leads, you will make money. I have an entire folder of hundreds of leads that are called dead. Like maybe people told me to F off. There's absolutely no way to get it for them. I bet you I could give that to anyone on this call. And if you called through those lists enough, I guarantee you there's sales that still could be made there. So it's just a matter of, well, how consistent are you going to keep calling them? But you want new leads so you don't get stuck trying to call, the same 50 leads over and over and over again. You've called them 52 times and they never answer. That isn't a fun feeling either. So what you'll do is you have some new ones from the new week mixed in with some of the other ones. Then you got this other list of people that you have had a conversation with. Now you're trying to catch up with them. And some of them have went into witness protection and they got abducted by aliens and they all have won the lottery and they've retired in Bali and we're just trying to catch them all. You have these different lists, but you got to stay organized with it. But there's money to be made in all of those piles.
100%. Like that it's such a good point. And I'm glad that, it is useful because I thank you for sharing that. Like you've got David has a physical calendar, you know what I mean? Like with papers, you know what I mean? But it's not like a scrappy, like when I first got started in this business, I was using a physical calendar and but I was also using just like random sheets of paper. I'd be
Mm.
booking my appointments and it'd be just like a random sheet of paper and stuff got super unorganized, all stuff. You want to stay organized, obviously with that. And then, same thing with the leads. And just like he said, here's what Hutch always told me in the very beginning is every time I'd call him and be like, I was working direct mail, going in person. Anytime that there was other leads in there, I would call him. I'd be like, hey man, I'm thinking about buying these leads. What do you think I should do? And every single time his question was the same question. And I would ask yourself this question, especially like, hey, it's Wednesday. Maybe you haven't had as big of a Monday or Tuesday or today so far as you thought you would and you're thinking about buying extra leads, the question that always comes into my head when I'm about to buy more leads is like, and this is what Hutch would ask me is like, are you gonna work them? Are you gonna work them? And my answer was, yeah, dude, like I'm gonna work, I'm gonna light them up, which was the truth. It's like, all right, then buy them. Because if you're
Mhm.
gonna put in the work, the money that you spend in leads, you're gonna write, that much more in premium. You know what I mean? 5x, 6x, 10x, whatever it happens to be. So and if David gave you his file cabinet leads that are dead that told him to F off, I promise you could absolutely make some money from those. So um it's really just, do you have enough leads to work? Are you staying organized and on top of things? Because especially when you're virtual, you will have so many people that are, yeah, David, call me tomorrow at 12 o'clock noon. Great. Robert, I'm going to call you at 12 o'clock noon, blah, 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 blah. And then you call Robert at 12 o'clock noon. Robert's like, hey, David, it's not a good time. Can you give me a call tomorrow at 10:30?
That's this pile from the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, like it happens all the time. And notice, like David's organized with it. So some of you guys, oh my gosh, David is kicking butt, taking names, like almost qualified for Cabo already, all that stuff. Like the dude, he's organized, and he's working. Okay, and so you need to stay organized with this stuff because that conversation of like, oh yeah, call me tomorrow at 10:30. Or call me next week, or hey, I forgot we're going out of town, or hey, I had an emergency come up, or whatever. That is going to happen a lot virtually. And you need to realize that up front and you need to be okay with that up front. It's just part of the game.
Mhm.
Okay. And don't ever take it personally. I think we've talked about this on some of these calls, but don't ever take it personally. If you feel like someone's giving you the runaround, like if they're outright rude, sure, take it personally. But at the end of the day, like it's just part of the job. It's part of working virtually. Um, Anything you want to add to that? I do want to talk about like tracking.
Yeah,
Um,
go to your tracking because you're the one who has taught everybody this, and I think this is very important to know what to do here.
so here's here's what I would say, and what I'm talking about is tracking your policies, tracking what do you have going on. Like we've got the calendar, obviously that's going to keep you on track with, who you're calling, when you're calling them, follow ups, all that kind of stuff. But as far as tracking your own business, guys, um, the CRM with the Alliance is fantastic. I really like the CRM. It'll tell you, when to do an annual review, 6-month review. It'll track your clients, all of that kind of stuff. But I will just tell you right now, it is not sufficient for you and your business to just have that. Okay, you want to build your business. This is, no matter how you're selling, you want to build your business where it is independent of anything else. Like you want to be in charge and track your business. So here's how you get there. We have a tracking spreadsheet that you can use. You can change it if you like spreadsheets. You know how to work this stuff. If you don't, I'll show you kind of how it works. But if you go to the Legacy Life Telegram, um, so I know some of you guys have Telegram just on your phone. I would encourage you as well to get Telegram on your computer. Okay. And the reason, there's lots of reasons for that, but you can send files back and forth to yourself. And I use it for this purpose quite a bit. Like a client will text me a picture of some form that they filled out and they had to sign. They'll text it to me instead of me having to download it to my phone and then, email it to myself. I just, yeah, hey, download it to or I just go send it to myself in Telegram and now I've got it on my computer and I can do whatever I need to do with it there. So useful thing. But if you go to the Legacy Life chat on here and you click on pinned messages, first of all, if you guys don't know, we've got a promotion that we're running. from now, and it's basically all of May. So the top three in annual premium with a minimum of 10 applications, we're doing a, number one, number two, number three. The number one gets $1,000, number two gets $500, number three gets 250.
Let's go.
So if you want extra dollars, we got extra dollars on the line right there. And then this other pinned message is talking about our Legacy Life event. That's coming up in less than a month. That's in June here in Denver. Again, if you don't know about that, go to that. That one is going to be all nuts and bolts, all training. It's done by us. It's put on by us. You know what I mean? For us here in Denver. And it's at an awesome hotel, lots of fun stuff around there. So the tickets are $25. Really, you just got to get here. Is the main cost that's going to be associated to that one. So we've got Dave talking about a video there. But if you click on the last pin message here, if it'll pull up, oh my goodness. There we go. So this is just, it's been pinned. It's literally the first message in our group from March 25th of 2021. We go back and update this, but right below this is a thing called Legacy Life Commission Spreadsheet. You can also find it on the website. It's underneath files in the agent portal. And I think a lot of people might just kind of skip over this thing. And we put this together a while ago, so you'll need to update it, okay, as far as the dates and times and all that kind of stuff. But all you do in here is you ought to be tracking your clients when you sold them a policy. What is the policy? What is the premium? And then also, what are you going to make on that policy? And I'm just telling you guys, like, for setting goals, I'm amazed at how many of us, like, we might go out there and set a goal. Hey, I want to make $20,000 in the month of May. And then we start selling policies, but we're not tracking like where are we at for that goal. We don't have any method to let us know where we're at. And every single time that I've set a goal and achieved a goal, is because I know where I'm at in relation to the goal. So tracking, as far as tracking your clients and all that good stuff, you can put your client in here. You put the phone number, you put their premium, what they're paying, what policy, all that kind of stuff. You can find what are the different policies pay out in the ARC website. The point is utilize this. Okay, you can go in here and you can change your comp. So, hey, if you're at a 70, you put 70% right there, and it'll run all of the like calculations for you as far as what are you getting paid. So if you sat down with Bob and you got Bob a $85 a month Forester Strong Foundation policy, that's $1,020 in annual premium. Hey, here's when I submitted it. Here's the policy number. Here's when it's, the premium is drafting. Here's why I put the grid percent. That product pays 100%. Here's what I'm getting paid in the advance from that policy. And then here's what I'm getting paid in the back end money for that policy. And this is useful for a lot of different reasons. I don't want to park here for too long, but it's useful to know where you're at if you're setting goals. Okay, hey, I want to be number one and I want to even get that $1,000 for this May promo. Okay, you might have to write $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 in premium to be able to beat, David, Aaron, Andre, like people that are, got their heads down kicking butt. Well, you can go do it. All right. But you ought to know where you're at so you can use it for that. But then also, as the months roll by, like, you're going to forget some of these clients. You are going to forget, especially virtual. Like, you're not sitting down with them. There's not a face to the voice. It's a name from 9 months ago. So in order to track like your back end money, hey, it's been 10 months since Bob's policy, I need to make sure I'm getting paid this back end money in the ARC. Okay, a lot of it happens automatically, but if there is an issue, like, at least you're on top of it and you're not just outsourcing your business to somebody else. Like, you are in control of your business. You know what's there, what to expect, all that kind of stuff. For policy reviews, okay, so a year from now, when you start going through policy reviews, like, hey, who do you call? A lot of times the ARC will track that stuff for you, but it's not 100% perfect all the time. You know what I mean? And what are they paying? And what's the policy? How much have I made? All of these things. You could even put notes, right? Bob had cancer, 7 years ago, rewrite them in a couple of years with a company that, is better. You put these notes in there. So again, I don't want to park here. I just want to let you guys know that this is available. I think you should use it. If you've got your own system, that's great. The point being is you need to be like, what you track is going to improve. If you're tracking your premium, if you're tracking your dials, if you're tracking your contacts, if you're tracking how many leads you get, like, the more stuff you can track, the more your business is going to improve and the more profitable you're going to end up being.
Yeah, 100%. And that's another thing. So track all that's important, and having that and saving the application on your computer into a folder. Nick made me do that. I thought it was the dumbest thing in the world, the first couple of weeks that I got started. And now I look back, and as you can rewrite clients or something comes up, like it's a godsend to have all that. And I think we're like insurance department supposed to do that or something anyway too, but helps us continue to make more money and then track things. Like, so I've been starting to try to track more of what I'm making for dials. And again, there are people that work a lot harder than me. There are people that work a lot harder than Nick in the world of insurance and everything else. Like, we're not like the end all be all of everything. Like so my goal is I want to get to making 100 dials a day, and a lot of times I don't even get to that. But it depends what kind of dial you're talking. If I'm calling through my old dead leads, well, I'd want to be making 400 dials a day, because the vast majority of them aren't even going to answer. But like I know my own numbers of like the answer rate I'm getting, and you should track this. Like, so if you go by 20 leads, well, when you double dial those 20 leads, so that's 40 dials in theory up to you're going to make off of those, calling them one time through for the day. How many of those 20 leads are going to answer on the first or second dial? And then of the ones that answered, how many told you to F off? How many did you get a productive conversation with to try to either sell them right there, or going to report back to them the next day, and you set a meeting, and you can start to figure this stuff out. And then it goes back to the leads of, okay, well, once you understand what's going on, and every lead's a little different in our own skill set, but like you can start to get this stuff dialed in where, again, going back to the $500, you'll know, here's my numbers. I spent $500 leads, it gets me this many leads. And I call them this many times the first one through, and it'll lead to this many appointments. And out of this many appointments, I'm closing this many people. And then so buying these $500 leads, I've made on average this much money. And you can even start tracking that. Like, I have a notes tab where I'll track, even it doesn't have to get as deep. Like, you could track it by batch you buy. It could even just be, hey, for the month of May, I spent $1,400 in leads. So out of the 1,400 in leads, it made me this much. And you could look back and start to track, okay, well, geez, my April was way better than my March or my February. Why was that? And then you can start looking back and go, oh, okay. And maybe you just need to track the number of dials that you made or the amount of leads that you bought. But like this stuff, it does become very predictable. Okay. Now, your skill set will continue to make you do better. But even at the skill set you're at right now, it still can be predictable of what you're going to make.
That's that's such a good point. Like, here's the thing is, like, if you knew for a fact that, hey, if I make 100 dials a day and I buy this many leads, right, that I'm going to deposit, on average about X amount of dollars in my bank account. Then if you want to make more money, it's just like you pull one of those levers. The problem is there's so many of us that it's like we wake up and we just start dialing. We're not tracking any of this stuff, or we just buy whatever leads are out there for today, or, like none of it. And again, it's, you're your own business. You can run this however you want to run it. We are trying to, we want to let you guys know, like, this is how we are running our businesses. And I think it's really helpful for if you were to run your business like this. Like, in any business out there, they're going to talk about something called KPIs. These are your key performance indicators. Well, when you're selling insurance, especially selling insurance virtually, what are your key indicators? Well, how many leads are you getting? How many dials are you making? How many of those people that, when you dial, how many of them did you contact? And then out of those contacts, how many people did you, schedule an appointment with, or have an appointment with, or have that first initial informational problem call, right? There's that. And then there's, how many sales you made from that. At its core, like, if you track those things, leads, dials, contacts, appointments, sales, you will have a very, very good idea of what you need to do in order to hit your next goal. The problem is for a lot of us, we're not tracking those things. We have no clue on those things. And so we set a goal, but we don't even necessarily like know where we are, right? And I'm pretty well convinced, and not to, here's what I'll tell you guys. If you were to make 1,000 dials a week virtually, and I know it sounds like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy. It is a little crazy. But if you were to go make 1,000 dials a week virtually, that's $200 a day, 5 days a week. And that is a shitload of dials. Okay. It is a lot of dials. You will be like, holy smokes, I am working. But if you were to have enough leads in order to go do that, and you were to actually go do that, I think it would be virtually impossible not to be depositing, regardless of your contract level, regardless of whatever products you're writing these people, regardless of really everything. Like, it'd be really, really hard not to go deposit five, six, seven, like $1,000 a week. Like, you are going to be making money. Just the problem is, for a lot of us, number one, we're not tracking those things, and number two, we're not actually going out there and doing the work, right? It's like we're making 20 dials in a day. And hey, if you're part-time and that's all you can fit with your schedule, like we got people calling on their lunch break and stuff like that. Hey, like that, you do what you can do. You know what I mean? You do the best with the best that you can with where you are. But like if you're full-time, I would challenge, somebody on here, like, try it. Go make $200 a day every day for an entire month and just see what happens, because it's going to be nuts. Like, you are going to have your best month for
Mhm.
sure. You're probably going to be number one. You would win the contest if you're gunning for that. And as you get better, like, David's really good. David is really good. Does he need to go make $200 a day? No. He's really, really good. Like, when he gets somebody on the phone, like, he can, tracks the dials, tracks the people that he contacts. The ones that he contacts to the appointments is probably a really, really high number. Okay, meaning if he gets somebody on the phone, it's turning into a productive conversation most of the time. But when you're new, you get people on the phone and you lose them left, you lose them right. They hammer you, they hit you with objections, you fumble over your words, like, and that's okay. You know what I mean? But that's why we track these things, because you'll be able to see those things get better. And then you can get to the point where you're like David, and hey, you don't need to make as many dials to get the same amount of premium that you need to make. You know what I mean? So definitely need to track those things for sure.
Well, and again, the number of dials. So where's your trade? If you don't want to spend as much money on leads, you got to make more dials. Because there's ways we can get a hold of even older leads or some cheaper leads. $500 doesn't mean 100 leads. Like, $500 might get you 10 leads with some sorts of leads, and it might get you 1,000 leads with other types of leads, depending on the type and how old they are and everything else. So the rubber meets the road somewhere. Either we can buy, quote unquote, our favorite type of leads and the best type of leads that gets us the best answer rate, or we can make up for the amount of budget that we have with the number of dials we're going to make. And I would challenge everybody on here, like, start, find a running partner, find somebody where it doesn't have to be a big fancy thing with a bunch of us on a Zoom call like this. Like, find one or two other people, jump on Zoom like this. Like, when we get off here, a couple of you that want to make a dial, like, get together with each other, sit on Zoom together. And you want to know how you can go make a couple $100 dials in a day? Is you call through and just try to make it fun. So you're tracking it. That makes it fun, where you got something to at least see your progress that you're making. But sit on with somebody else and watch. Like, there's a lot of us that are all working really, really hard. There's a reason Legacy Life's one of the fastest growing agencies in all of the life insurance industry, regardless of the alliance or outside of the alliance. Like, there's a lot of good, hardworking people that are putting effort in. So just stay around the campfire virtually. Find one or two people, jump on a Zoom call for an hour, 2, 3, 4 hours, and you just make dials. And everyone can put themselves on mute, and then when somebody all of a sudden has one, you can unmute it, and now you guys can hear each other's talks and everything else, and figure out, oh, here's where this one good, oh, here's where that lady was crazy, forget her, Nick would have never even been able to sell her either, who cares, let's move on. I did something like that with Nick yesterday with a new person, and literally he got on the phone and the person hung up on it right when I go, hold on, Nick, are you telling me you still get hung up on? And just like, again, stay around the campfire of each other. It doesn't have to, like, you don't have to be dialing specifically with Nick. Get on with somebody and just like, but you'll realize everybody goes through the same stuff. I still suck and mess stuff up every single day. I am nowhere near where I want to be at this. And all of us continue to want to get better. That's why we're on this call. We're trying to get better. We want to help other people go get better. But it just, stay around those people. I think jumping on a Zoom together is a good idea to do that. Doesn't have to be some big fancy thing, just something that's going to hold you accountable. If you have from 10 to 2, I was talking to a new guy yesterday. I don't think he's on this. But so he works like 50 hours a week, but he's like, listen, I can do from 10 to 2, 6 days a week. Like, I will carve that out. Let's make it happen. Great. Know what your schedule is. Like, I try to be very committed to a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. Like, figure out what your schedule is. Whether it's 10 hours a week or whether it's 100 hours a week, just but like then try to stay to that schedule with the goal of what you're trying to do for the number of dials or whatever else. Have a goal. Hey, I'd love to write X number of clients. So if you need at least 10 this month to have a shot at winning, some extra cash. So what do we got to do to make sure we go get 10 clients sold? Well, now we can start working it back. How many dials do I need to make to get to that? Like, you can start figuring this stuff out, and then it really becomes fun. Like, I thought life insurance was going to be boring, Nick. It's fun because you deal with it's still the people business. It's goofy, and you can make it fun. You can be working with other good people, and we can try to have some fun with it along the way. It doesn't have to be this stuffy, boring thing. We're not having to wear the suits and show up to the house, or make them come into the office with the briefcase. Like, have some fun with it, and we really are helping people. So at the end of the day, when you realize we're not goobers selling them an overpriced policy that sucks, we're the ones that know what we're talking about and get them out of the overpriced policy that sucks, and it's a win-win situation. We make money, we put them in a better situation. That's what we're doing all day, every day. So just have fun with it, but you got to put the work in too.
100%. 100%. I think that's a great place to stop it, unless there's anything else you want to add.
That I just put the work in, and give yourself patience too. The other thing, I'll leave it at this, Nick, and then if you want to close anything else or whatever, yeah, we should probably wrap up now anyway. But so I went to school to be a chiropractor back in the day. That was 8 years of schooling, $250,000 of looking back on really idiotic student loans that it's a whole nother story for another day on how all of that played out. But 8 years of schooling, hundreds of thousands of dollars of cost for a degree I ended up never even using. Okay. But it took 8 years to get to that, is to have this doctorate title. Then over here, there's people that, we put in what, 8 hours of effort, and then we're like, I don't know. Like anything worth getting good at is going to take time to go and do. Like, I get excited where I can be another 7 years from now in this business with this group of leaders, with our agency. That excites me. And I would encourage you to just like get excited where it's gonna be. You're as bad today, Lord willing, as you're ever going to be, because we are the ones that are actually on here trying to get better. We're trying to learn what to go and do. We're trying to figure out, okay, how can I track this? What can I do? How can I get around other people that have goals and they're working towards things? This is as bad as you're going to be. Just if you can stay consistent, I really do think this is worth getting good at. Like I've said that in other businesses I've been a part of before, but like, Nick, it truly is real here, where we could take just about I feel like I could take just about anybody off of the street, and if they had a work ethic and an actual desire to do so, to be able to provide for the family, they want to go and earn a good source of income, and they were willing to put the work in, and they're going to listen to what it takes to do. This really is a track. I feel like I could take anybody off the street and help them go have success with it. I can't say that about a lot of things that are out there or that I've been a part of in the past. It really is true here, but you got to go put the work in. So be patient, stay consistent, and just, again, don't be afraid to dream a little bit of where this can get, because it does blow my mind of how real this business is, of where you can get to making a full-time income.
100%. 100%. Well said, brother. I appreciate you, and